Welcome to the Brand Success Podcast, where you'll hear amazing stories from people like you who overcame their fears, frustrations, and obstacles on their way to brand success. Join us to be inspired by how they persevered, pivoted, and powered on to success. Not easy, but they did it, and so can you.
So, good morning, my friends. We are here with Brand Success, a podcast and a YouTube video series that we do here at North Star Marketing. And I'm Kay Wagner, your host for today. And as many of our brand success podcasts and videos go, the stories that we hear, the wonderful stories that we hear, come from a need being solved. And that's what we're going to hear today. We have with us today Andrea Thomas, and she is going to tell us about her product, which is a product called ScratchMeNot, which came from a solution that she needed for one of her children, and she's going to tell us about that. But the people that we hear on Brand Success and what we continue to bring to you are people who have created successful brands, like the one Andrea is going to tell us about. And they have found their secret sauce, the magic formula for brand success. So I am very excited today with Andrea with us. And so she is going to tell us about her actually multiple successes, I think. So Andrea, take it away.
Hi, yes, I'm Andrea Thomas. I am the owner of ScratchMeNot, and also I've done for you Amazon services. And I guess how I started was, it kind of started before the brand even began, of course. And so I was working for an architecture firm and newlywed, and realized we were going to have a little one coming. And so I spoke to my lead, and I said, I think I'm going to take a little time off beyond the normal 3 months just to figure out, how this new mom life is going to work. And so I requested 6 months off because I just couldn't figure out, if I was going to be ready to have a little one go to daycare so early. And I was just at the beginning of a new portion of my career that it was just taking off. And so I was pretty excited about that. So it was a little scary leaving corporate for that long, that period of time. Even though I was excited about, having a little one, I was also a little nervous about leaving my position kind of hanging in the balance. And so after she was born, I don't know, it's like that motherhood aspect of my life just clicked. And I just went into full speed of just mom mode. And about a couple months into her being here, I just noticed that she was actively scratching, rubbing herself and scratching, her joints and head on the sheets. And so I took her to the pediatrician. I was like, I don't know what's going on, but she is actively scratching. And it's not like that random newborn scratching where they move their hand and accidentally scratch themselves. This was like purposeful. And so the pediatrician kind of shrugged it off and said, she just has her newborn skin. She'll grow out of it. She'll be fine. And there was a little part of my gut that was like, that's not right. But there was a part of me that believed in, her many years of experience and her education, that I went on along with it. So fast forward another month, the scratching is getting more intense. And I said, I think it's something that I'm eating. And so back to the pediatrician I went, and she was like, oh no, she looks like she has eczema, but I don't think there's any research showing that there's food connected to eczema. And, she's just going to grow out of this in about 5 years. And I said to myself, oh, 5 years. So I went home, but I noticed that when I was nursing at the time, I was like, if I am eating something of dairy, she starts to cry more. Or if I eat this, she gets more red. And so I was starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together. And there's like that part of me that woke up that said, maybe your pediatrician isn't right. Maybe she's wrong, and maybe you're right. And so she wasn't sleeping well. I wasn't sleeping well. And I think that's when my architecture brain and that mom started to kick in. So 3 a.m. Googling, researching, asking friends and family. They're giving me their remedies. They're helping me out. But I'm noticing that even though her skin is getting better, it's still itchy. And if I take my take my eyes off of her, if I stop holding her hands, she'll scratch away any progress that we've made. And so I started thinking, if I could just find something that can keep her hands from damaging herself, her skin, then perhaps I can make progress and we can get past this hurdle and I can live that newborn mommy life that you see
Right.
on commercials. And because that was not what was happening here. And so I began to formulate a design in my head. I was drawing it out. I was just thinking, if if this would help me, maybe it would help someone else. And because I was sitting there, I was like, these hands don't really sew. So I need to find someone. I need to find someone to help me with this design that I've kind of conjured up in my head. And connected with a seamstress, created prototypes, and it was working for my daughter. And I was documenting my progress. Still, she wasn't sleeping the best because I was still figuring out what was triggering her eczema. But we were making progress. And so that is how ScratchMeNot was born, was, watching my daughter navigate through the prototypes, watching her progress, documenting it through my blog, and just seeing who else is out there that's dealing with this concern. And so I looked at my husband one day and I said, if this works for our daughter so well, I know there are other moms out there, other dads out there who need this for their kids. And what do you think if I just start this next part of my journey? And he said, go for it. And so about 6 months in, I had to go back to work and I called them and I ended my career that day to begin this
Wow.
venture and to continue down this mom life. And so now, flash forward 5 kids later, we are still selling it. People are still having their lives being changed, giving kids relief and parents peace. And really, my main focus was when someone has a health concern, people automatically view their situation and they're asking questions or they're making the little ones feel uncomfortable or out of place. And so I really wanted to help focus on hands that love, because they love to play, they love to, hug, they love to just be active and not take their minds off of the scratching aspect, take their eyes off of the rash and what's going on with their skin and giving their parents some time to figure it out without worrying about the scratching damage. So that's how I got started, and we've just kept going and evolving from there. I think one of the biggest challenges that I came across was trusting that mom instinct and trusting that perhaps the health professionals, they know a lot of information, but there's still some areas that there's room for growth. And so when we have this gut instinct to make a decision for our family, to become an advocate for our children, and that's been one of the things that kind of became empowered in myself, is that I can trust my instincts, I can move forward, I can nurture this little one that I brought into existence and get their guidance and support versus just relying on them 100%. So that was one of the key areas that I feel like a lot of parents were needing at that time in particular, because there wasn't a lot of research 10 years ago with eczema and food related information. And so now we have so much information, it's almost info overload. And so now we're having to do a different type of navigation, which is what's going to work for my child, what's going to work for me in my situation. And so as my little one grew up, because now she is 10 years old, I've seen the journey of her eczema, the ups and downs. And I've also seen the progress and the testimonials from our customers, and just seeing that this wasn't just a product that solved a physical problem, it was also an emotional concern that was being taken care of as well. So as I was talking with other moms, talking with other people that were selling products, they were like, hey, how do I do this for my own idea, for my own store? And I began to do some coaching to kind of guide them through that process, how to get the products off the shelves and to change their customers' lives. And then alongside of that, I was like, wait a minute, I was a busy mom. Like I was a busy mom raising multiple children at a very young age. And sometimes I just needed an extra set of hands. And so I started a done for you service that gives you the extra hands so you can continue growing your brand, maybe on your website. But you want to add an Amazon to the picture. You want to add something, but you don't want to have the extra hands, time, or energy, or even sometimes it's even desire to hop on another platform, because we know whenever we add another aspect to our business, it takes our eyes off of the original intent. And so in order to change more lives, we got to get more products off the shelves and sell more. And so Amazon is a great place, of course, to do that for small businesses, especially. So I guess I would say, looking back at this whole journey, because it's still in progress, is learning how to give myself grace, give myself grace, because we can't please everyone. There are always going to be little blips in the program. There's going to be some situations and challenges that arise within our business that we have to figure out on the job. You know, I talked to my husband, who is still in corporate, and he loves it and he's thriving there. And I was like, you know, the difference between your world and mine is that you get to focus on one area and you get to do it well. It's like, but when you're an entrepreneur, you have to do the entire brand and business, and you have to figure out how to remove yourself as well as keep the business flowing and going with your original vision, staying passionate and fervor, and how to delegate and add on different aspects. And so imagine doing this with little ones who, you know, you're still nursing, staying up late at night, you know, just going through the obstacles of life. And so I realized when I started the coaching aspect of my brand is that when we're on social media, when we're looking at other people who are gurus or who are experts in their field, we don't really see that mom aspect. We don't see how I can do this throughout the chaos of my own life. And it may look, it's like it's too far-fetched, or perhaps I'm not perfect enough. I'm not good enough to get this done. And so I wanted to kind of remove the veil on some of that and say, hey, you know, we are amazing women, and we can get a lot of things done. We're natural multitaskers. And so the question is, how do we do that and prioritize portions of our business that are going to generate profit and income, as well as make sure that when our children come knocking at our doors, when they hop on our lives, when they are helping us doing any packing and shipping, or, you know, whatever it may be, that we are available for them, because they are experiencing entrepreneurship through us. You know, we have college to help us go through the corporate route, kind of train us for that journey. But as we are on this entrepreneurial journey, they are kind of watching us evolve and picking up bits and pieces. And one of the things that I've really learned is, I guess my number 2, is that businesses do what children do. They do what you do and not what you say. So that was one of the things that I said, okay, you know, I can't cast these visions without having appropriate actions behind them, without having the right vision, without knowing where I want to be. And that's kind of how we raise our kids. We know we want them to be successful. We want them to feel nurtured and loved. And so as we move out through the day, through the years, through the weeks, we make sure we implement those moments. And so for our business, the same, you know, you want it to be a profitable business. You want it to change lives, make an impact. You want to use the profits to help charities or whatever the case may be. When we see where we want to go, we are able to actually push the business in the direction that we want, versus kind of just responding to whatever's happening in business, and get that tunnel vision. So once a year, my husband and I would sit down and kind of do like a little mastermind amongst us of casting visions on, you know, where we want the family to go, where we want the business to go, what are some things that we didn't really like that happened this year, and vice versa. And we also do that with the kids. Like, you know, it's also almost a testament of, you know, how did our parenting do this year? So we ask them questions and they give us feedback. And sometimes we don't like the feedback, just like them. But it gives us an idea to see things through their eyes. And so when we get our numbers for the business, when we see the health of our business, it's telling us what's happening and it's telling us what to pour gasoline on to grow that brand. And it's also telling us what to get rid of. And some things we're kind of attached to, we may not want to do it. But the business is telling you, the health of the business is telling you. So that is some of the things that I've kind of learned along the way. Some things that I wish I would have done differently. It's a little challenging because I love to. It's kind of like when someone asks you, "What do you regret?"
Right.
But if some things that happen in our lives or happen in our business is what got us to where we are. And so if we remove that, if we have this perfect timeline, this perfect story, I may have never started my Amazon Done For You services, and because I would not have had understood how challenging it was to balance everything so much, and knowing that's a portion of our business that we need. We need extra hands, we need expert hands, we need amateur hands. We also need so some things I would have done differently is maybe more self-care. I think that's the part. The superhero mom cape is very real. And I read a book that said, perhaps we should lay that cape on the sofa a little more often, a little more frequently. And so I experienced it didn't really hit me that I wasn't really doing self-care until baby number 5 came. And my health kind of deteriorated some because I was still running at the same pace as I was with one child, actually with no children. So my body was telling me something and I was not honoring it. I wasn't listening to it. And it said, okay, we're going to have to shut down some areas. And so, health is one of those things we can't buy. But at the same time, we also understand that our children need us, our husbands need us, the home needs us, the businesses need us. And that little voice can just get pushed further and further away until something more dramatic happens. And so I would definitely go back and say, okay, Andrea, pause, take a break, go eat another meal, reduce the meetings a little bit, and focus on long term. Because when people get to be elderly and you're hitting that second season of life or that third season of life, that's when you realize, in my 30s, in my 20s, perhaps I should have eaten more vegetables. So that's definitely one of the biggest lessons I've learned as well. And then along with that, business-wise, is that we are a culmination of the leaders that we surround ourselves with. And I remember in the beginning, entrepreneurship, social media, they were just at the brink of taking off as far as being accessible to more people as rapidly as it is today. And so I did not have a circle of leaders, of business people that I could tap into and say, hey, I'm hitting this issue with production. I'm hitting this issue with, customer service. How do I handle it? So a lot of that I had to kind of figure out along the way. But now with, all these Facebook groups, and you have YouTube, and you have just an expansion of information and of accessibility to people, is to surround ourselves with people who have already been where we want to go, and then also pulling someone else up along the way. And I think that if you have a good balance of that, you are able to see that, okay, I guess a good example was I was in a group talking about Amazon, and I'm used to seeing, 1,000 a month, 10,000 a month, even 15,000 a month in sales. And it wasn't until someone dropped a photo of a screenshot saying, this is what we did this month. And it was like $260,000 in sales. And my brain said, oh, that's possible. And now that was a new place to go with the brand. And we know numbers are infinite and we can make whatever we want a month, but to see that it's tangible, that's something that many entrepreneurs need to know that, yes, it's possible. Whatever we dream, we can create, but someone actually accomplished that and they went beyond it. So that was one of the big aha moments of just surrounding myself with people who are better than me. And being okay with that. That's part of that ego that we have to say,
Right.
okay, this is not about you. It's
Right.
it's about learning and always being a student and absorbing. Um, and so I guess that's kind of my journey. I don't know if I missed anything or some things that you want to kind of and ask questions on more. I kind of try to touch on a little bit of all aspects.
Well, you did a great job of telling like a full
Oh,
story. My gosh, what a busy life. But
yes.
I I really love what you do um, annually by including your children
Hmm.
and getting their feedback because that is really, really cool. I think
Yes.
getting their perspective and really listening to them because kids don't get heard all the time, right? So
Yes.
being able to do
Yes.
that. Um, let's dig into a little bit of the early days when you had the prototype, you had
Hmm.
the product was working, and you actually, I guess, went through a process of coming up with the name with Scratch Me Not, right?
Yes.
Um,
Hmm.
and then how did you actually begin to sell? Did you start to sell on Amazon from the beginning? And how did people find you? How did that whole first, because everybody's like, once you get the momentum going, then it's okay. But
Yes.
it's like getting that momentum going is the toughest part.
It
So,
is. It is.
how
And
did you go through that?
that is something that I did research.
Hmm.
Those that 3 a.m. Googling, when you can't sleep, the baby's crying, you got to figure out what to
Right.
do. You're trying to,
Mhm.
it was one, I had to figure out, okay, before I bring this product to market, I know I have this great idea. I know that there's at least 5 more moms dealing with this, but literally, how many children experience this issue?
Right.
What else can my product be used for? How am I going to market it? And so when I did research, I was like, okay, how many people are born with this concern? How
Mhm.
many kids outgrow it? By what age? And that kind of helped guide me on, how many sizes to have, how should it
Oh,
work
okay.
for them? And when I was able to, get that research aspect down, I had to figure out, okay, are people even searching for this solution? So that's where the Googling came, the forums came.
Mhm.
Facebook was not crazy active then, but I did a lot of like in person asking questions. When I
Right.
saw another mom who had babies, I asked, do they scratch and what do they use for mittens? And typically
Mhm.
they were using, the standard little mitten that comes off 30 seconds later.
Right.
And so I'd ask them, what were the problems with it? And just kind of did some on the spot Q&As
Mhm.
just so I could get one, their terminology of how they speak about this concern, two, if it was concern itself, and then three, where do you look for these solutions? And at the time, many were looking inside of stores. And so
Right. Mhm.
but online, I knew I could navigate that anytime I wanted to. Like, I could call stores between 8 and 5 or 8 and 6. But online, I could email China, I could email Hong
Mhm.
Kong, I could do whatever throughout the night, whenever. So I knew that I wanted to be able to market it 2 ways: wholesale to retailers, and then also online sales. And so when I found out where they were online, I began to have conversations with them and just talk with them about the concern. I didn't do the car salesman thing of like hitting them over the head with my product. Like, here's, oh, you're scratching, here's the scratch me not. But
Right.
more having a conversation, because remember, all of this is research. So when you're creating your product descriptions, when you are doing your FAQs, you want them to feel as if, wow, they really understand me as a parent going through this concern. They really know how this product is going to work for my child.
Mhm.
And then the part that people don't really like is is listening to those that are complaining about the product, that don't like the product, that are returning the product. That's where some of your gold is. That's where you are learning how to change your, revise your product, update it, as well as what's important and what's not, because we can't please everyone. So we need to make sure that we understand our values and what the product is for. So if someone was like, hey, I was trying to use this when I was cooking. Okay, it's not even made for that. So I know I can squash that review. But if they're saying things like, my child is able to still damage their skin with the product on, okay, that's a red light. Let me figure out what's going on and kind of dissect that. And so between me shopping the product around to different stores, talking to other online boutiques, and then also going where my customers were, I was able to create traffic. I didn't even use ads until later on down the line. And one of the reasons was because I didn't really understand how they worked. I was learning how to be an entrepreneur on the job. But one thing I did know was that moms were reading about how to help their child. And so my blog came in because I was walking through my journey in words. And so they were reading that, and I was talking about the product there. And so that would lead them to my website as well. So that's kind of how I built the momentum. And then later on, down the line, I got more, tech savvy, more marketing focused, and allowing myself to say, okay, we're growing now. Let's make the branding shine a little bit more. Let's make sure that our marketing says what our customers are saying, because, like I said, you want to make sure that people know immediately when looking at the product, within the first 3 seconds, maybe 7 seconds, what the product is for. Can it be used for my child? Does it apply to my situation, so they can purchase it? If it takes them too long to figure it out, you've just lost the sale.
Right, exactly. Yes. I think it's great that you have this listening attitude, that even when people say, this didn't work for me, or I tried this or whatever, and to realize that there's gold in that is really very, very wise and very inspiring.
Yes, it also has a little bit of anxiety with it as well. I can't ignore that. But having to filter through that is very important. It's pivotal to brands to know what their customers don't like.
Right. Yeah. And when you're selling a product, a physical product, it has its characteristics and attributes and all of those things. And it's an evolution, right? You make it better because you get good feedback, and maybe some feedback you don't want to hear, but you take all of that into consideration.
Yes, so, and I'm sorry, one I was going to say one thing. Also understand that your product is, like you said, is evolving, and so it's meant to change. What you start off with, revision 1, it'll probably be revision 4, 5, 6 down the line, and that's okay. It's okay for your business, your brand, to kind of shed its layers.
Right, because you learn things and you improve things as you go along. So that's like a natural evolution. And if you don't improve things, I think you leave the door open for someone to come in with a product that might do damage to yours, or take some of your market share.
Definitely. And knowing how to navigate competition is important as well. So, but like I said, we learned some of that on the job. And you kind of, that's why we also surround ourselves with experts. So when these different hurdles pop up, you can tap into someone else's knowledge versus DIY, figuring it out on your own only.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, I am amazed at what you've done, because you took it from 0 to 100, right? You did everything and had 5 children. Oh my gosh. Yes. So incredible. So
I'm just happy they're quiet right now.
right. I thought we'd see one or two of them pop in.
Yes, I had to lock the door
See
because
what mommy's doing.
just in case.
But they're probably used to you being, busy in your office and doing all kinds of things.
Yes, yes, they are. And we have a little system in place. So
Yeah.
they know when the door is closed, this is mommy's time. But they also know when the door is open, it's free for all.
Good, good. So I want to have a little bit of fun with you, and we're gonna do a brand quiz.
Okay.
Since we're talking about brand success. Now, this is a quiz that you cannot fail.
Okay.
Because it's about brand preference. So I'm going to ask you a couple of different brands and which one you prefer and why. So,
all right.
Do you prefer Outlook or Chrome?
Chrome.
Chrome. Okay. All right. Any particular reason?
And it's fluid. It works with everything that I do. It's yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Home Depot or Lowe's?
Oh, I was a Lowe's person, but there's so many Home Depots around. I've switched.
So convenient.
I felt like, yes. And then they had more, this kind of aligns with the kids, but they have little workshops for the kids to do on weekends where they can learn how to fix things and build things. And so they won me over.
Okay. All right, cool. M&M's or Hershey Kisses?
Oh, M&M's. Yes.
Nike or Adidas?
Adidas. Yes,
okay.
Adidas.
Okay. All right. The final one is a question that you will know the answer immediately, I'm sure. So there was a research study done, and they do this every year. And in 2019, what was America's top brand?
Oh, okay.
You know it very well.
I want to say Apple, but it could be. I don't know.
Yes, you do it. You know it every day.
I probably use it. Is it Google or Amazon?
Amazon.
Amazon. Why did I say that first? Amazon.
I tried to give you a hint.
Yes, Amazon. Well, and I was thinking about physical product in the beginning,
right?
And then it shifted to brands are beyond, because my brain is just thinking about what can I sell on Amazon,
right?
Yes, 1 billion plus in sales. Yes. They did that. They did it actually on Black Friday. They did that on Black Friday last year. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what they did on Cyber Monday this year?
I have not looked. I've been busy working on other clients, so I have not even looked. But do you know?
I haven't heard the number, no. But,
okay.
I think it was last year maybe, when it might have even been 2 years ago, when Cyber Monday sales were higher than Black Friday sales. And then this year what they did was they started doing Black Friday before Black Friday. So it kind of... that whole
everyone
thing is changing. Yeah.
Everyone is like holidays. The date of the holiday doesn't really matter anymore.
Right.
It's the month.
Right.
And now they're going even a month before.
Right.
Because I just heard Valentine's products are coming out now that Christmas is here. So
well, we had Christmas before Halloween, so which was really crazy. Yes. Well, I want to thank you, Andrea. This has been a pleasure. I'm very impressed with what you've done. You are a powerhouse, and thank you for sharing your story with us and giving all of our listeners and viewers inspiration and insight. And again, for those who are listening, for my friends out there, so many of our stories are come from solutions to problems that we have in our lives. And so I challenge you to all just keep your eyes and ears open, because there is a solution for a problem that you may have or someone that you know has. And you can bring that solution to the world and help those people who need what you have, and help yourself too. And so one final question. How is your daughter?
She is doing wonderful. She's doing wonderful. We were able to, I didn't even complete that story. Thank you. We were able to get her eczema under control. It was food related. And now we're in a different season because she is able to control her own eczema.
Okay.
So because of what she puts into her mouth. And so we're navigating through self-control and knowing, it tastes good today, but it itches tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh. Well, that's a lot for a 10-year-old to handle, right?
It is.
But there's also probably a lot of learning and understanding that she has that maybe some other 10-year-olds don't have.
Yes. Yeah. And she's sharing that. So that's important.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, thank you again. And just to let everyone know that the contact information for Andrea is on the screen here. Feel free to contact her directly, whether to hear more of her story or to actually talk to her about being on Amazon because of her Done For You Amazon services. And I think when you hear what she's done and what she can do for you on Amazon, she might be your go-to girl.
Thank you.
So thank you again, Andrea, and thank you, my friends, for watching and listening to the show. And that's a wrap.
You just heard another great formula for brand success. What's your secret sauce or magic formula? Post your story on our Facebook page called Brand Buzz. Then come back soon for the next brand success story that's cooking up right now.